Behavior messed up. What a genuine surprise. Never happened before, and here it is again. Before getting into this, I would like to introduce myself so you have an idea of which part of the community I represent. So, hello, I'm Skylar. I've been a casual, non-competitive Dead by Daylight player since early 2019, with over 2,500 hours total in the game. After the introduction of skill-based matchmaking back in 2021, I don't find this game particularly fun to play anymore. So I don't waste my time on it on my own. I'm just there to mostly play Survivor every once in a while with my friends. So yeah, technically I'm a Survivor main now. But I promise you, I'm not an entitled bitch. I just want everybody to have fun, and that's it. And with that out of the way, let's dive right into it. So yeah, in this patch notes, they have introduced a few mechanic tweaks, like at last the blood web rework. They have addressed accessibility issues for people who are hard with hearing by implementing visual terror radius. Really cool, good for them. Absolutely no complaining there. But what really bothers me, however, is the way they handled the meta shakeup, because it really doesn't look good at all. It looks like it's going to be the golden era of tunneling in DBD, and you will see why I think so further in this video. So starting out with healing, basically what they're doing is increasing the time it takes to get healed by 8 seconds. So instead of 16 seconds, it will now take 24. That is absolutely crazy. 20, yeah, we could work with that, no problem. But 24, that's... I don't really know how to feel about this just yet, to be honest. With the amount of possible debuffs that killers could apply to you, it seems like a lot. But anyway, they're also nerfing medkits. Medkits should have been nerfed a really long time ago, but now the changes they are applying to it honestly looks quite questionable, and it just shows that they don't really understand how their own game works, which is really sad, but no surprise there. Literally, the whole point of having a medkit is to be able to heal yourself, not someone else. You want to heal someone else with a medkit only if they're in a really bad spot.
Wait, what? Wait, what? What happened? Wait, what?
Getting tunneled, which with this healing tweaks is going to become much easier, by the way. Or if you need to pick someone up from the ground. Almost never happens. Now let's talk about the perks. First, we will discuss the menacing changes that Bhvr themselves decided to implement, and then I will propose my own ideas for possibly better changes. Pain resonance. Pain resonance has received a massive nerf. From what I understand now, it can only be procced 4 times in the entire match. That is absolutely worthless. If they buffed it so that it wipes off at least maybe like 30% of the jump progress, then yeah, it could still be pretty good, but this, they just straight up gutted it. And I wouldn't necessarily say that this perk is super meta. Yeah, it can be really strong and pretty annoying to go against, but I feel like most people run it because it's just really convenient to use if you don't want to waste your time kicking gens all the time and would rather focus on other things. Besides, killers don't really have good gen regressing perks anymore too, so... Which leads us to... Call of Brine and Overcharge. If you thought that after Pain Res nerf you were safe with this duo, well guess what? Eat shit. Bhvr has absolutely destroyed these 2 perks to the point where they're not worth even looking at anymore. And the only reason they're doing this is so that their new, really poorly designed Skull Merchant wouldn't be as menacing at regenning as she is at the moment. Pretty good job so far. Skip Gearhead because it's still useless and nobody cares. Overzealous got a really ironic buff, considering that in this update they've killed the only boon that people have ever been using. Genuinely, I've seen more people run Premonition than Overzealous, and it just says a lot. Next, Circle of Healing. To be completely honest with you, I don't really like playing with boons that much. I just think they're too OP. Circle of Healing at least. The only survivor I run boons on is James. I never even got the achievement that came out with Michaela like maybe 2 years ago already. It's just not my thing. I've always thought Circle of Healing was too overpowered and needed a really heavy nerf, but I never imagined they would go far enough to just make it even more useless than all Pyramid Head add-ons combined. At this point, I genuinely admire their ability to make the effects of something so blatantly bad. Like, I'd never come up with this shit if you gave me a million years to. And last but not least, Death Hard. Yet again, I couldn't think of a worse way to nerf this perk. All it does now is it promotes the killer to tunnel and deny safe on hooks, like their mom would disown them if they didn't. Especially with all those nerfs that gen regression perks have received. You wouldn't be able to even blame the killer for tunneling at 5 gens anymore, because now getting rid of a single person and not being afraid of Death Hard on them is a really viable strategy. And perhaps even the only strategy to consistently win at this rate. If you play for the wins, that is. Now about suggestions. Call of Brine and Overcharge. So, like previously mentioned, the developers are most likely nerfing Call of the Brine and Overcharge to prevent our new, really poorly designed Skull Merchant from being a menace at regenning. Instead of completely gutting these two perks, they could have not touched them at all, and rather introduce the mechanic that would set a cap for gen regression that is happening within a drone range. This way, killers would have at least something to hold on to, and it won't be a problem for any future gen regression perks not being compatible with this killer as well. Circle of Healing. There are so many ways you could approach the whole boon problem, honestly, and I think they really should. Well, first of all, they could lower the heal rate significantly, perhaps even make it like current self-care. It would really be much better than this. They could make boons expire after some time. For example, you set a boon and then after maybe 2 or 3 minutes it just disappears and you have to reboon again. Or they could make it reveal its aura, just like Noed. But the problem with this solution is that not many killers would have time to stomp it anyway, so they could also make it so that it can only be placed once during the entire match, just like with hexes. I feel like all of this would make survivors think twice before mindlessly placing boons just anywhere, and it would actually punish them for doing it in the wrong way. Death Hard. Make it so that it appears after getting hooked once yourself, not unhooking someone else. Or make it so that it becomes available after getting chased for quite some time the next time you're being chased. Not a perfect change, but it's still better than the one that Bhvr has proposed to us. And now that we're done with the perks, let's talk about some killer changes. The Pig.
I'm Peppa Pig.
Add-on crouch speed increase from 6% to 10%. Very useful change behavior, 10 out of 10. I'll tell you a secret. The reason why this add-on is underperforming is because it's trash. You're welcome. The Oni. Wow. Just wow. Listen, even if this add-on made it so that Oni doesn't slow down while absorbing orbs at all, it would still be trash. Not trash as much per se, but still trash. Just rework it, please. The Nightmare. Absolutely no comment there. I can't. The Executioner. As a Pyramid Head main, it just hurts. What the f- The Clown. So instead of addressing the issue of camping with pinky finger and make it so that the exposed status effect applies from a certain range, like for example in Slinger's iridescent coin, they just reduce the maximum amount of bottles that the clown can carry. Pretty good job so far. Jokes aside, now let's talk about the most heartbreaking part of this update, the Billy nerf. Something that nobody ever asked for, even by the most entitled sides of the community. Nobody. If anything, we agree that the poor guy needs a buff. The developers already took the Sky Billy from us. They introduced really annoying overheat mechanic and well just gutted him in general. I never really understood the existence of the overheat mechanic in the first place, as it's literally not even that good. It would be great to have it in the hook range to prevent camping, I guess, but outside of it, it's completely unnecessary. And now they're nerfing 2 of his addons, which aren't really that good too, by the way. And they just make it so that he's not fun to play as or against anymore. All these addons did was make Hellbilly slightly faster and grant him the ability to curve around certain objects like car loops. Like I mentioned before, am a non-comp casual DBD player. My goal in my matches is to have fun and find ways to outplay the enemy side, be proud of myself, try to pull off some silly mind games and see if I can get away with it, and so on. So back to Billy. I love it when Billies are trying to actually pull off a crazy play and try to mind game and outplay me. It makes my games full of thrill and things might actually get scary sometimes. It's so insanely exciting to go against these kind of Billies and players in general, and not just have to loop around stuff and eventually be forced to either drop pallet on their head or just take the down. It's just not fun to play like that. With this absolutely non-changing gameplay, it feels like a chore. I really hope they will stop looking solely at numbers and actually listen to their community for once. One of the reasons why Billy players who take these add-ons might have higher kill rates is because they're trying to play funny. They're not camping, they're not tunneling. The reason why they get kills is because survivors let them do so. Whenever I encounter a Billy like this that is just, trying to pull off this kind of stuff, and maybe he's managing, maybe he's not, the gens are popping, and I feel like he deserves this kill, and we often end up leaving them with a 4K out of our own free will. And this, I guess, messes up the statistics, but honestly, it's not about numbers. So let's get to the flashlight nerf. We will no longer be able to burn Wraith out of his cloak. I can see why this could be annoying for Wraith players, but it's not something that ultimately has no counterplay. First of all, you can dodge the lobby. You can bring Franklin's, you can learn to play around this because survivors slow themselves down while trying to burn you. You can hide behind stuff, you can learn to mind game with that, and eventually their flashlight will run out. The only issue I see with this change, however, is that it's gonna become much easier for Wraith to tunnel, because he's insanely fast while cloaked, especially if they have add-ons. This could be a really big issue with all gen regressing perk nerfs. The nurse one, however, I genuinely don't understand. Not many people are even aware that you can actually burn the nurse out of her blinks, and even less people use it or are able to successfully use that information to their advantage. With her still holding the title of the strongest killer in the entire game, I don't see how this is a good change in any way. Same as Wraith. More tunnel, more pressure, more unfun matches. The artist.
I'm a bird.
Weird, but not many people use that anyway, so I guess that could be alright. The hag, however, while I see how this could be a really good buff for her, I'm very unsure of what it means in terms of camping and playing of hooks, because now technically it has no counterplay. You're just gonna get clapped while trying to disarm the traps, and destroying hag traps mid-chase was, for the most part, only possible if another survivor does it for you, because with current flashlight clunkiness, it's kind of hard to achieve yourself. You're just gonna die. So what does this all lead us to? Correct, the tunnel era of DPD. Now that killers nearly don't have any means to defend their gens and prevent them from popping, and now that they won't be afraid of Death Heart or flashlights anymore, it shall begin. While this might seem quite alright to veterans and above average players, it is absolutely menacing to newcomers. I don't think I need to explain why. At this point, behavior is just determined to make the game as unfun and competitive as possible. I genuinely hope that they will rethink their life decisions and not make us suffer like that. But to be honest, I have little hope. Let me know what you think about these changes and what would you do instead. And thank you for watching, and see you in the fog. Or not. I might uninstall when this comes live.